Your mind has been lying to you your entire life. And the most terrifying part? You believed every single word. Every fear, every self-doubt, every story it told you about who you are, you accepted it all as the absolute truth. From the moment you wake up, the mind begins its relentless chatter. It judges, it worries, it replays old conversations and rehearses ones that may never even happen. And most of us, without ever realizing it, follow along with every single word it says. We become so entangled with our thoughts that we forget there was ever a difference between the thought and the person thinking it. The voice in your head becomes your identity. And when that voice is cruel, so are you to yourself. Here is something profound to consider. Right now, in this moment, you are able to notice your own thoughts, which means there is a part of you that is completely separate from them. The thinker and the thought are simply not the same thing. Think of it this way. A thought passes through your mind the same way a cloud passes through the sky. The cloud is not the sky. It moves through it, changes shape, and eventually disappears. And the sky remains vast, open, and completely unchanged. You are the sky, not the clouds. When you sit quietly and simply watch your thoughts arise and fade away, something extraordinary begins to happen. You start to realize that you were never your thoughts to begin with. You are the awareness that observes them. This is what the ancient sages called witnessing. Not judging your thoughts, not suppressing them, but simply observing them as they come and go. The way you would watch leaves float gently down a river, calmly, without reaching out to grab any of them. There is a deep and lasting freedom in this understanding. When you are identified with every thought, life feels like a storm you are trapped inside with no shelter. But when you remember that you are the sky, no storm can ever truly define you. It passes. You remain. Not every thought that enters your mind is true. Your brain is a prediction machine. It is constantly generating stories, filling in gaps, and projecting fears onto an unknown future. And most of the time, if we are honest, it is simply making things up as it goes. Think of the last time you were absolutely convinced something terrible was about to happen, and then it simply did not. Your mind told you a deeply convincing story. You felt the fear as if it were completely real. But the disaster it so confidently predicted never came. Psychologists call these cognitive distortions: catastrophizing, black and white thinking, mind reading. These are not insights, they are glitches. Errors in the mind's operating system that feel absolutely real, but are, at their core, nothing more than unchallenged patterns we have simply never questioned. The harshest thoughts are often the ones we treat as the most truthful. When the inner critic says you are not enough, we rarely stop to ask for evidence. We simply bow our heads and accept the verdict, as if the mind were a judge we had no right to question. You are allowed to hear a thought and simply choose not to follow it. That is not denial. That is discernment. You are deciding, consciously and deliberately, which voices inside your own mind actually deserve your time, your energy, and your belief. Not all of them do. Between a thought and your reaction to it, there is a space. It may be incredibly tiny, just a fraction of a second, but it always exists. And within that space lies something most people never discover in their entire lives: the freedom to choose who you want to be. Viktor Frankl, who survived the Nazi concentration camps, wrote this: "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. These are not just words, they are a lifeline." The more you practice noticing your thoughts without immediately becoming them, the wider that space becomes. What was once a reflexive reaction begins to soften into a conscious and deliberate choice. You stop being dragged along by the current. You learn to swim, or sometimes to simply float. This is what true inner freedom actually feels like, not the absence of difficult thoughts, not a mind that is perfectly calm and permanently silent, but the quiet ability to look at a thought, even a very dark one, and say with clarity, "I see you, but I am not you." This is not a theory to hold at a distance. It is a daily practice. The next time your mind says something harsh about you or someone else, simply pause, just for one single breath. Then ask yourself honestly, is this a fact or is this just a thought? That one question can change everything. Most of our suffering lives in either the past or the future, in memories we endlessly replay and possibilities we secretly dread. But your thoughts about the past cannot change it, and your fears about the future are not prophecies. They are just thoughts. Right now, in this moment, you are safe. The breath is always here, always in this moment. When the mind pulls you deep into its stories, the breath quietly calls you back, not to emptiness, but to presence. To the simple, undeniable fact that you are here, you are alive, and you are so much more than any thought you have ever had. There is a practice that changes everything. It is simple, but not easy. When a thought arises, any thought, simply notice it. Say quietly to yourself, "There is a thought, not my thought, not me thinking, just a thought passing through the space of awareness that you are." Viktor Frankl wrote that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom. Most of us have forgotten that space exists. We react before we realize we are reacting. But with practice, that space grows wider. And in that widening, you begin to find yourself. Imagine your mind as an open sky, blue, vast, and boundless. Thoughts are like clouds drifting slowly across that sky. Some are dark and heavy, some are light and thin, but the sky itself, the awareness that holds all of it, remains untouched, unchanged, always and entirely whole. Try labeling your thoughts. When anxiety comes, whisper, "This is an anxious thought." When anger rises, say, "This is an angry thought." Something shifts when you do this. The thought loses its grip. It becomes an object you observe rather than a force that controls you. You step back, you breathe, you are still here. You are not the voice in your head. You are the one who hears it. You are not the emotion that floods through you. You are the one who feels it and remains. This distinction seems small, but it is, perhaps, the most important thing a human being can ever learn. What changes when you truly understand this? Everything, and subtly. You stop fighting your mind and begin working with it. You stop being dragged by every current of thought and start navigating with intention. The world outside may not change at all, but you, inside, you become someone the world cannot so easily move. Each morning, before the day takes hold, you can take one quiet moment. Before the phone, before the news, before the noise, just sit, even for 60 seconds, and watch the thoughts arise. Do not follow them. Simply notice that you are here and the thoughts are there. That small act is the beginning of freedom. It takes courage to pause. In a world that rewards reaction, speed, certainty, noise, choosing to stop and simply observe feels almost radical. But in that pause lives something ancient and steady. A version of you that was always there beneath the stories, waiting, patient, unafraid. This practice changes how you love, too. When someone says something that stings, you can notice the thought that rises, the urge to defend, to retaliate, to withdraw. And instead of becoming that thought, you can choose. You can respond from something deeper than a reflex. That is what it means to be truly present with another person. You have lived inside your thoughts for a very long time. They have felt like truth, like identity, like the only reality there is, but you have always been more than this. Quieter, wider, more still. That part of you has never needed fixing. It has only ever needed finding. Stop believing everything you think. Not because your thoughts are wrong, but because you are so much larger than any thought that has ever passed through you. The mind will continue to churn. That is what minds do. But you, the awareness, the presence, the witness, you are steady. You are free, you are home.